had to go bang, straight in there, dive into the doorway. You had to be fearless.
Because the first time it happened, I just thought, oh.
You've missed a line of dialogue.
Yeah.
I fucking want to sit down!
So sticky.
All over the dialogue.
How did you do this? How did you make it sound so clean?
If they crashed a shot, that's it, over.
Welcome to the latest URSA exclusive. I'm here with production sound mixer Kiff McManus and Rob Entwistle and first assistant sound Kyle Pickford, who all played a part in capturing the incredible audio of Adolescence. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting because Rob and Kiff, you've worked together for a long time. You mind telling us a little bit about your background together?
Well,
We met on Top Gear, didn't we?
we did.
Yeah.
Can't remember when, but a long time ago.
A really long time ago. I mean, sort of talking more than 15 years for sure.
Yeah, must be.
So we did that for years and years together. We were, us and Russ Edwards were, I suppose, the main sound team for most of that Top Gear stuff. Later on we did other things together. And then finally when Boiling Point came along, I wanted Rob to basically to help me because I didn't think I could do it alone. So we did that together, and then, well, became sort of kind of the obvious choice when this came along.
I mean, it seems to be a natural progression in a way. It's like, well, this is a massive step. We're looking at the scale of Boiling Point and then taking it on to this level with so many moving locations. I think Boiling Point was one location with
Pretty much,
back and front.
Okay, we were first approached about this in the end of 23. Leon Martin, who's head of production at Warp, got in touch with us both and said, you know, we're developing a serial of 4 one-hour dramas, but we want to shoot each one as a one-shot. Are you interested?
Yeah.
And we both went, absolutely, we are.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I was not without serious butterflies. It's, you know, doing a one-shot, it's like cliff diving. You know, just the fact that you've done one and you didn't die horribly does not mean that if you do another one, something awful's not going to happen. Especially when they say, oh, and it's a higher cliff and there's more rocks in the sea. But, I mean, neither of us were going to walk away from a chance to do another one of them because we had such fun.
It's
with Boiling
just,
Point.
it's exciting. We love doing it, Boiling Point. The buzz is amazing. So I suppose we had that in our heads too.
When you read it for the first time and you realise what they're trying to achieve, it was a bit, you know, they really upped it. You know, it was like looking at a massive knotted ball of string the size of a hay bale, and you just think, oh. And honestly, if I hadn't done Boiling Point, if we hadn't done Boiling Point, I'm not sure I would have known how to start picking that apart. But the thing is, we had done Boiling Point and we'd faced this sort of thing before, so we had ideas and really, really broad brushstroke. What you do is once we got the script, you go, right, how many characters are in this 70-page document? It goes, because they all need radio mics. You know, it's just not like a normal
Not
document.
everyone with a word was
That's
white.
right. And then so that gives you a rough number of the amount of radio channels you need. Plus add a couple because you're always going to get SAs who, you know, big up their parts, and eventually you're going to have to just mic them. That, and then you've got your boom channels, you've got all your sends and that. So that gives you a rough idea of the radio channels you're going to need. And then you go, right, locations, how many have we got? That's the next thing you look at. Then you go, how many boom ops do we need to do this? Because they can leapfrog, but they've got to be able to get from A to C in time for C to happen, because there can't be hang on, we just wait for a second for sound. That can't happen. So it's got to be enough that they can follow on from each other. And we went for 3, which it seems like a lot, but there was some pretty fancy footwork involved, wasn't there, to actually keep that with 3.
Yeah, and you often had 2 in the same rooms, in the same space. Right?
Often.
Yeah.
And another thing which is really different with a one-shot, each location you lose equipment, because it's not like a normal thing where you will set up here, do the scene, break it down, go set up here. No, as soon as you've used equipment in that, it's gone. You know, when you move on, you're leaving it there. So that's things like radio mics, plant mics, aerials, and then you have to look, how many people do we need in our department to run all this?
Yeah.
And in the end, we went with Rob and I as mixers, 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a trainee. And okay, the 3 firsts had to all be pretty brilliant, because you know there was, well, if you've seen any of that, you've seen how difficult most of that was, and how you needed incredible collaboration between them all. So we had Kyle, Ash, and Tom, and then we had 2 again brilliant seconds, because again you've seen how many bloody mics there were out there, and some of the challenges with those costumes. And then we needed a trainee who was, again, brilliant, because they were not going to be making tea. So I had to go to production and say, I need 8 people in the sound department. And honestly, we could have really used 10, couldn't we? But I just didn't, I was too embarrassed to say, I think we need 10.
Yeah, you have 8.
Yeah.
Oh, could have asked for more.
Yeah.
I'll have the 10.
And then you read it. Oh, okay.
So, but once you got that, so you know, so you've unpicked that mess, at least you've got some figures to, you know, you can start moving around. And then I think Rob and I came up with a sort of a basic strategy for this. So we took one location as the main location, and in Ep1 that was obviously the police station. That's a huge,
which was a set build, right?
Exactly, exactly. It was one huge location. Yeah. So it made sense for Rob to put his kit in there and, you know, build it in. Yeah. So you can take advantage of certain things. You can run cables, you can get your aerials, and you know, enough places to cover it.
It was Ep3 set and Ep1 set, wasn't it? Side by side.
Yes.
So once you're kind of rigged in there.
Oh, so the Ep3 has the same space, right? Yeah. Okay.
Then the other bit, the more mobile bit, should we say?
Yeah.
I took that bit. The only way to do it was to have essentially a mobile sound platform.
Right.
So basically to build my kit into a van, so that just followed the action.
Right. Okay.
But I thought Video Village is going to have exactly the same problem. So why don't I, if we get a big van, you know, an 18-seater, why don't I put Video Village in with me? Okay, it just cuts down on, you know, a lot of complication. You know, the send to Video Village is easy for a start, but also, and selfishly, I thought if I've got the director in my van, then I'm going to be able to get much, much closer to the action. Because if I'm saying, the sound signal's a bit poor where you've put me, people go, I know, but the shot. Whereas if I've got the director can't see it, they go, right, let's move you closer. You know, so it kind of works in everyone's benefit.
So is that roughly the sort of setup? You had your trolley set up in the van?
So this is the front of the van. I've got fins here and over there. This window, I chuck extension leads out for fins outside that could be plugged in. So I'd mix from there. And that was essentially, you know, most of what I did.
Episode 1 starts off, they're outside a car, the two officers, and they go into the car, dialogue, and then they drive and arrive at a house. So were you inside a van for that, and then travelling?
Yes.
Was that right?
So basically, the car's parked in a side street.
Yeah.
I'm in a van round the corner. You can see the van in that reveal shot where it shows the convoy coming. I'm in a van round the corner. I've got Tom, one of my firsts, with a boom over the guy because he's outside. Yeah. Then the guy, this is Ashley, gets into the car with his partner. At that point, Tom runs back to the van, jumps in the van. Okay. The car is covered by, there are 2 radio mics for a start, but also 2 plant mics.
Yeah, I think I've got a picture actually. Here we go. Yeah, well, this is the other vehicle. But
that's the other vehicle. Again, this, you know, same sort of, you know, setup. You've got plant mics for them. That's all going to a mixer in the back. Okay. You know, so just in case there's a breaking signal between me and them, and for the 2 extra plant mics, that's all being recorded there. Right. And then a send from that to me. Again, if the signal between his radio mic, which he's sitting on, can't get through to me, I've got a little aerial on the top of the car that's sending the sum of the mixer, so that's going to get to me.
Sorry to interrupt. And I think Tom was hitting record for that bag in the boot of the car, so that was his first job to do. Hit record, rolling, and then pick up his boom and then get the dialogue.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kiff.
Yeah. And then obviously, then the camera comes around the car, it's looking through the window. While that's happening, it's being attached to a crane.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then as soon as the mat goes hands off, the crane moves off in the electric vehicle, shows the whole convoy, of which the video village is a part of the convoy.
Yeah.
That gets to the house.
Yeah.
Tom, the boom up, jumps out, runs, and he picks up all the policemen getting out of the van and smashing the door down.
Yeah.
While that's happening, Joanna, the second assistant, is pulling the mixer out of the police car and putting it into that one, the custody vehicle.
Okay.
I mean, we could have probably just put another mixer in there, but we knew we had 2.5 minutes, and I just thought it'd be really exciting for Joanna to have to shift a mixer out of the car under that sort of pressure. So she was actually dressed in a police uniform just in case she got in shot.
Okay.
And then while that was happening, Hannah, the trainee, was waiting outside the window of this van, and I chuck out 2 fly leads because we've got aerials around the back of the house, facing into the house.
Okay. I was going to say, how do you get range when they go in? They go through the door and they go upstairs and they go into the bedroom.
Initially, it was perfect. It was all working. I was thinking, I can just do this all from the van. It was brilliant. And then the first dress rehearsal day, when we had 10 coppers in body armour, sort of going, building a wall of water between me and them, and suddenly going, oh, it's not working anymore at all.
Really different.
So we put aerials around the back of the house, facing, high up, facing straight into those windows. Yeah. And then a long cable run, and I had a trainee waiting next to where the van was going to park, to plug in 2 fly levers to my gear. So we were then suddenly, before they could get upstairs, we had coverage there. Tom would basically cover the start of it, and then he could get his boom just into the hallway. So going down on the floor. Yeah. The wife goes down, going up. He's getting some of that. Yeah. But obviously there's no way to get him up the stairs and into that bedroom. Yeah. So Kyle is hiding behind the bedroom door, and there's so little space in that bedroom. Kyle's hiding behind the bed. Well, you tell it.
Well, there's like a little gap that no one's booming, but you had a couple plant mics. I don't know if you remember on the landing. So that was getting Stephen Graham's I haven't done anything.
The plant mic was getting that?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
okay. It's all high level, right? You were picking stuff up on that plant, and then you had one on the banister as well. So if they were walking up and down on that stairwell, you would pick something up. And as soon as they walked into Jamie Miller's bedroom, I was behind the door, diving in. Okay. Sometimes too soon, sometimes not in the right time.
Well, they did it differently every single time, didn't they? So
it's difficult because you can see...
It was very split, though. How did you cover the splits in that situation?
You start off learning the script, and they say the words, and then sometimes they adapt, they change, things get said differently in a different order. So you had to preempt, because every take was... it's a lot of emotion. I mean, I was in that room with Owen Cooper, and every time I was in that room with him, before we go for a take, give a little nod to each other, right, we're into the zone now. And it was a different performance you give every time. So you had to preempt that. You had to watch him. If he's going to give it, he's going to shout. He's going to be quiet on this one. And Ashley Walters as well coming in. You had to keep an eye on him as well, because you got to be careful with overlaps as well. So it was, they were talking over each other, so you had to play it in between them. So it was a bit difficult. I think the one they used was split, which was, I could go between them. There wasn't overlaps, so it was okay. But I can't remember what take that was they showed. Was it take 2 or something, I think?
Yeah, it was a really early one on the first step.
So you captured that, and then it goes back downstairs, and then it goes back outside of the house, I imagine. So
yeah, so basically Kyle's got everything upstairs. In that hallway there are plant mics all over the place in there, and then as soon as Kyle comes out onto the top balcony, so he can get some of that hall stuff. Stephen Graham goes into the kitchen, shouts at them a bit. I had a plant mic in there, I had a plant mic in there.
Still carrying on, isn't it? Which is great. It all happens at once.
And then as soon as he comes out of the house, Tom, who got him in, is out there, drops the boom straight onto that fight on the lawn.
Yeah, this bit here. So
That's
Exactly.
right, yeah.
That's So we got that's a mini cement in a cozy.
mini cement, nice.
Because he had to jump in and out of stuff, and he also had to get it into the house, to get some of that stair thing. So we needed something a bit smaller than normal, cement.
Yeah.
As we were shooting that in the summer as well, there were some takes where
The sun
comes out. So there were some takes where we I can't go anywhere near it.
No way.
Nothing you could do.
Nothing you could do, yeah. So, I mean, luckily we could, it was either in the morning, I think in the morning takes the sun would be on one side, whereas in the afternoon it would be directly over us, and then we had issues. But we had a few takes that we got the boom over there, which was very useful. It was cloudy as well some days.
Which we loved.
We loved it, yeah. It was
So, I mean, from here, Tom breaks off, because, that conversation is actually phased into the background. Tom breaks off, takes them round to the van, gets them into the van, then Tom runs and jumps into the van with me.
Right.
Kyle runs downstairs.
Yeah, as you see Matt, the DP there, as he span round to that point, that's my moment to run out the door, down the staircase, and run round the back, jump into the van with Kiff.
And then when we pull into the police station, which is in fact Production Park, you can't see where it is, and so they built, should we say, like an outbuilding that the van could drive right into.
Yeah.
Tom jumps out the lead car with Matt, the cameraman. So, obviously the cameraman's got to take the camera off Lee in the car. So if Matt can't get there, nothing happens. So we were pretty sure. That's why I put Tom in with Matt, because I knew that they had to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'd get there. Tom would take it from there. Kyle would zoom off, go around the back of the building to get in, and then Tom would take them through that little corridor. Said one for custody, goes through the corridor, and then as soon as he hits the doorway, that's the door they come in. As soon as they hit that, because I've got essentially I'm sending to Video Village and the Booms, or basically our feed.
Yeah.
As soon as they touch that door, I power all that off, and Rob powers all that on, and then this steps firmly into Rob's hand, and then I scoot off, to try and get the mixer out the van.
Yeah.
Turn things off and stuff like that.
Right.
And whereas Video Village stays parked where it is.
Is there an overlap? Is there an overlap with comms, like you're transmitting on a frequency for comms, and presumably you're on the same one, so people aren't swapping between.
Yeah.
Is there ever any issues with you both having comms on at the same time and they're tweeting or?
A couple of times I might have been a little bit slow in turning mine off.
I wasn't listening to him.
You
So
quite
I had no
literally,
idea.
when it goes from unit to unit, you're turning your transmitter off, so you're not over.
So those handover points.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But that's the thing. We sort of said, okay, up to here, I've got it.
Yeah.
As soon as it hits that point, and that door was an easy one, just go click. That's, we're both watching it and both are just going now. Okay. So there should be no gap.
Rob, this is your setup for is this right? So would you mind running us through your rig and the equipment that you're using to cover the range and to cover,
So I guess the key thing really is that top unit there on the right. That's
on here.
So that's the Wizzy combiner. So it just meant I could send out a bunch of aerials and just cover the whole area. And that's really the key to that setup, I think, for both 1 and 3.
So you were physically clicking on and off?
No, you just put them out. It does it automatically. You just kind of, if the signal's strongest from that set of fins, that's what comes through. And if they move to that, it was amazing. Very good bit of kit. The rest is, to me, obvious.
How long a run can you do effectively with that?
You probably go 50 metres off in various directions.
Right,
so you'd send one right down to the end, one up high here, and then sort of 2 pairs in the middle, really. The studio was good, wasn't too hard to cover, really.
Yeah, it was big, but it was like a Faraday cage, really. You couldn't get signals out, but the really great thing was no signals could get in.
Yeah.
Which we found out when the IM aerial needed to move. Because my IM had to obviously get out to the van, which had parked up outside. So we had to kind of adjust that a bit. But it was fine once we got it all set. That's it, you're done. Yeah.
the set and the movements and the choreography of the camera and the cast around that set must have been quite complicated, because you're going through lots of quite narrow corridors and going into rooms and spinning around in rooms and coming out again. Was that a 2-boom operation? How did you sort of plan?
So when we arrived at the police station, Ash Sanani was there waiting to help Tom Pallant to split dialogue at the booking-in desk. So that was all split. Meanwhile, I'd gone around the back of the set and hidden the cell, which they bring Jamie's character in. I was in that cell waiting. So Ash will take the action over to the cell with Jamie, hands it over to me, I do the stuff in the cell, and then I bring it back to Ash, who takes them back out. Basically, get one boom op in a room to hold that room ready to receive the camera and the actors, and there would be another boom op navigating through the corridors, unless there was split dialogue, and then we would try and get 2 boom ops doing it. I think the examination room, we had all 3 of us were in that one, because I think we had 4 or 5 actors in there.
One just out in the corridor, wasn't there?
So this was when they had the machine recording them and they were trying to get a confession of some kind.
And I think that was some good boom swinging between those two, because they actually learn the words for this. It wasn't just split, it was...
And how did you plan all that when you were getting all this sort of prepped?
So we had 3 weeks per episode. And it was, the first week was director's rehearsal with the cast, but also HODs could be there for it as well. And the second week was the tech rehearsals, which brought the rest of the team in. And that's when we started trying to figure it out. Bear in mind, camera did have a camera in their hand on that director's rehearsal, so they had a head start.
It was meant to be that just the HODs came in, so basically the DOP and me, just really to have a look at what they're doing, and just in case they started doing something which would really bone a take for us. You know, we could say, look, that's perhaps, let's not bake that in, because that could make things really difficult. That was the plan. But in the first one, suddenly the rest of the camera team started showing up, and they're going, and it was just me, and sort of they were going off to scout this and do that, and I could only be in one place at one time. So we changed that later on, but the theory was that.
Were there any times when you had to say, that's not going to work for sound in terms of what camera movements?
I don't recall anything.
No, I mean, the bizarre thing is, okay, Ep1, the raid in the house, we were saying, look, because you've got a whole bunch of police in there, all yelling at people, everyone's yelling while we're doing a scene in the bedroom. And we're saying, wouldn't it be better if we just told them to, mime the other stuff? And the director said, no, I absolutely want that tenseness in the house. I want everyone to feel it, I want everyone to know it. We're going, well, that's not the way you normally do it. And we were so wrong. I know it's not the way you normally do it, but this way worked better. It created that atmosphere that all the cast members responded to.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So yeah, I have to say, quite often in this, the director was such a generous guy. If you said, it's a bit tricky if you do that, would it be possible that? He would go, absolutely, unless he really had a reason for what he had just said, in which case he would go, no, I really need this. And because he was so generous and such a good director, the rest of the team just went, okay, then we'll figure out something to make it work that way. And sometimes he said things which you just went, okay. I mean, it really was. But everyone, all the departments were just prepared to do anything to make it work. And so we all worked, collaboratively in a sort of a way which just doesn't happen very much.
I was amazed at how little, because you do scenes with some Steadicam operators when they're dealing with a larger camera possibly, but they tend to make an awful lot of noise, especially when walking backwards. There's a lot of slipping sounds you get when they're sort of safely walking backwards, and you hear that.
It's a moonwalk.
But this was I mean, was this Matthew? Matthew was
Matthew DP and Lee. It was the Ronin 4D, and I'm not saying it's a light camera, but it's lighter than a Steadicam, a whole rig. So they were able to tiptoe, and they were very open to anything. Like, guys, can you be a little bit quieter? Matthew allowed us to put a bit of URSA fur between his the arm that goes to his back support, which was rubbing. Yeah, he's like, take it, just soundproof it. Mm-hmm. So he was very open to making everything work for us, which was great.
It was very little. This is our department.
Yeah,
we didn't have to break into that. Everyone was just helping everyone out. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Was there any particular things costume that you do, or drilling holes in things or anything?
The vest got a little hole made in it, didn't it?
Yeah, we did have to sort of put some holes in some stab vests, which we did ask about first. But we just had to. Stab vests are really tricky things to do, and just because it works one time with one vest doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. But they were sort of really open. They said, "Look, take them." And when we said, I think you've got to drill a couple of holes.
Well, that's a stab vest, right? Yeah. So what you say? So there was a.
Well, if you look at the one in the van.
Yeah, it was in the camera. It was in the police camera. Yeah. The body worn camera.
Yeah.
So we just had to drill a hole through that plastic and. Get it
what kind of microphones were you using for this?
All DPAs. 6061s.
All 61s for the.
Okay.
For all the personals.
Yeah. 6061s for everyone. Nice.
Yeah, pretty much. I think we had 40 61s, just because they're a bit more open sounding. But I don't think we used them, did we?
No.
It was just you needed something small, and they're good, and they can take a lot before they blow out. Yeah.
And what was your choice of transmitters for cast?
The new Wizicons, the 61s.
MP61s, yeah.
Yeah. Which we absolutely needed, not just because they're small, which they are, and the battery lasts a long time, which it does, but because it's 32-bit float. There were certain bits which were delivered really, really quietly, but other bits which were delivered really, really loudly. Yeah. I mean, the house raid was one. The mother. The first time we did a full dress rehearsal, she just completely blew out everything. She really went for it. It was hugely loud. But I've got to, because later on when she comes out, she's almost whispering, "He's just a boy." So you've got to get that. So I was thinking, at first, I couldn't get the gain right, because it was blowing out on the receivers at or the transmitter. It was just blowing out. It couldn't handle that range. Now, luckily we had, and this is another really different thing about this film, we had post on set with us, post sound, which was, how useful was that?
That's amazing. Because they give us a daily, after an ep, they go off and they listen to it and give us an update and any criticisms or things we could do.
And if we had a problem and said, look, this noise, we're not sure we can get rid of it, they'd come and sort of, record a bit of it, listen to it and go, no, we can sort that out, don't worry about that one. Or, that is a problem. The
assurance of having them there was needed.
But also, because the 61s had the 32-bit float, what I could do, it would definitely blow out at my end, when I'm in the van listening to it. But I could be confident because I've got post to listen to it.
Because it's recording on the box, right?
Yeah. So I go, I know I've got that. Yeah. Because the first time it happened, I just thought, oh. So as soon as the tape was over, I said, right, get this to post. We want to make sure that we actually got that. Because I'm not sure what to do about it otherwise.
Let me ask a cheeky question. If you had to use a different radio mic system, do you think you would have been able to do this show for range? Or was there something about Wizzies that just got you the range?
It's a controversial question, isn't it? Wizzy range is amazing, without a doubt, and we're used to it. That's the other thing, it's our kit. So
also, something else I say is, we've got a lot of Wizzy kit. Yeah. So if you use it with other Wizzy kit, now I'm sure this is actually the same about sound devices stuff or Audio Limited. If you use all the kit together, it tends to work a lot better than mix and matching. So the Wizzy kit worked superbly. but you know, it was right up the line. It was whizzy all the way.
Yeah.
So it's designed to work together. It should do. It's expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and it did.
Let's have a look maybe at episode 2, because this was really wild here at the school, right? And this really blew my mind watching it, and a lot of people have asked me to ask you, how did you do this? How did you make it sound so clean? Going through doorways, through corridors, with costumes that possibly might not have been that great for radio mics, and the school uniforms are always quite difficult, aren't they, with quite polyester ties, and everyone had different looks. And that first shot where you start outside and you go into the kind of main area outside of the school and go into a canteen, and then over and then back out of that building and into another building. I was like, this is more than most shots that you would do in a TV drama, in terms of just that beginning is much further than what you would normally have to cover.
Yeah. We tried several things.
Yeah. Well, before we knew the geography of the school, we were going to approach it the same as Ep 1 and 3, weren't we? We were going to have our zones and fine, you know. And then we went on the recce, and it was massive. Yeah. And it was bigger than what it ended up being, so we were just, okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah, by the end of that 1.5 hour walk around, we realised that
like
our plans would never work on it.
No chance.
And then we sort of moved on to thinking, okay, the only way I could see, we could see to do this, and we both, you know, you could see us both looking sicker and sicker as we got, you know, as we went round the recce.
A few sidelong glances.
Yeah, and then by the time we got to the end, and Phil, the director, was going, so, what do you think? We both went, we're going to have to do bags, aren't we? Yeah, we're going to have to do bags.
No option.
And so we initially planned what we'd do is we'd tag team each other. So, you know, say I would start with 10 cast and 2 booms on my mixer, and I would track behind them until we reached the limit of my mixer, you know, the 10. Yeah. And then, you know, say they would go into a room, Rob would be hiding in the room. I would disappear, move to wherever Rob would reach the end of his 10, and in that meantime I would reprogram my radio mics for the next 10. Right. That was the plan. Yeah, it wasn't not ideal, but it's the only way we could see to do it, because it was just such a vast area. And you know, obviously we both have the 2 booms and stuff. So that was initially our plan, and then we started seeing what the camera was going to do, and you know, corridors full with kids and stuff. And then we just thought, that's just not going to work. You know, because the camera would come down a corridor like this, then turn around mid-thing. Now you can get a boom possibly to leap into a room and someone to come out of a door, but you know, if you've got, you know, with a big bag, you know, and screens and stuff like that, you just can't get around them.
So I took my bag rig in, put it in the room we had, and just said to Ash, just walk around, see what range we get. And it turns out in the buildings is actually really good. Okay. So we took the decision, which was a daunting one, but to get everything in and rig it as per the picture that you'll find. That's right. To try, because we could always have gone back to the bag, that was the thing. So you can see Ash wiring is evidence of making holes in the school. Really, it was all in that room, which was perfectly placed in the centre of it, really. And we just sent out aerials. So in the main, it covered the kind of school block and the final point.
There was a kind of finite cut-off to it. Basically, anything that spread out more than that, I had to cover from outside. And I did that with the bag, because I couldn't drive the van around the school. Yeah.
And did the bag cover the fire drill section as well?
No, that was actually covered from areas out the window. Nice. So the bag, you know, the initial walk in, and then when the kid goes out the window and goes off, and then up the road, and that was going onto the bag, and then again the drone flight again to the bag and to the thing.
Did you chase after the drone in a van?
We did.
They had to paint you out, didn't they?
Well, it was quite, you know, initially the drone was going to go up, drift gently towards, and then look down and see the crime scene. Yeah. That was the end of it. And then I think it was on the Wednesday, we had five days to film this, and that was a really hard out. You know, we couldn't stay in the school any longer after 5 days. So on the Wednesday they said, we really want Stephen Graham in. So can you sort of land the drone over there? You know, in the thing, that's a third of a mile away. And everyone went, but we still don't have a take we can use. If it had been any other director but Phil, we'd have just gone, can't do that. But everyone just went, okay, we'll do that, you know. And but it was
made for a wonderful end. It really did.
It did. I mean, that's the thing. It's sort of sometimes you're asked to do something, you think, oh, that's stupid, or it's madness. But when you realise at the end that that's why they make those decisions and not us. You know, they do know stuff we don't know, and that was a classic one of that. But what happened was, it became obvious that we couldn't do it from the school. We had to actually go there. So it's a question: how do we get everyone there? Because we all needed at the school. Yeah. So what happened is, as soon as I got them settled in the car, Bascom and his son, I get in the van. As soon as the car pulls off, so Carl gets that, then Carl gets into the van, then Matt, the cameraman, walks over, you know, to settle on this girl. Yeah. The two grips with the drone come over the top, attach the drone to the camera. Yeah. As soon as Matt is hands off, and you can, I think it's in the making of, you can see him turning around and running off. He's running towards getting the van. And then the two grips, as soon as they release the drone, as soon as the drone's actually got lift, they release it, and you can see them turn and run. They're getting in the van. And the van then immediately takes off. And actually on the drone shot, you can see a white van going,
That's a white van driving in. I was thinking, maybe that's crew.
We pull into the car park where the drone's going to land, up against the wall, so the drone won't see us. And then it's that last in, first out. So the two grips leap out, run, catch the drone. Cameraman leaps out, takes the camera, is released from the drone. Carl leaps out. We've got sound now. I leap out. We're recording sound now, and we just sort of up to Stephen Graham, get that last sort of look.
They have turned the drone off by now.
Yeah.
That's the next question.
But it worked. That was the last take though. That was the last take of the 10.
Well, there were days they couldn't fly the drone because of the weather, right?
Yeah, on Thursday they couldn't. It was too
Wednesday
windy.
morning was the practice. I think that's right. That was kind of the first time they tried it.
That's right.
The rehearsal for that move. And then I think it got too windy for Thursday. So yeah, it got down to the wire. Yeah. Worth it though. In the end.
Yeah.
One of the things people were asking to find out is just, it sounded so, I mean, the school environment was so luscious with the noises from the playground and the sounds of the classroom, the drums, and then the different classrooms as you pass. And it was just like, this is real. It just sounded so genuinely authentic, like not like, let's do a wild track. I mean, please tell me, how did you achieve those kind of, that ambience? Was that live or was that...
Some was post. And again, we had post with us. So when we were doing the walk around, they're saying, and we got drums in this room. We got post going, but, so that was... I mean, I've seen quite a few different versions of that because I went round to post, I was so interested. And they've had versions where it was really quite quiet, say walking through the canteen, to versions where it was very, very noisy. And at different points, we recorded the kids chatting.
You had time, you were given allotted time to do all that properly?
No, not a lot of time, but because we had post there, they'd say, look, either they'd go and do it, and they did quite a bit of that, or they'd say, could you, like at the end of this take, pick up this, 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 and this? We need, for example, the hot chocolate machine in Ep3. We need that, the sound of that, or we need, and so whenever possible, we'd pick that stuff up, and then they sort of layered it and had a look and go, too much, took a bit out, too much. They put a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of really fine detail work in there that you don't notice. It just makes it seem really real, but there's a lot going on in those scenes that's been later added in post. They did a stunning job.
It's so subtle, and it was actually really liked it because it was often quite empty, but in a way which allowed for these wild moments to have also peaceful moments of relative silence, and not to be shy of having a bit of silence and not covering everything with music. I mean, I didn't notice any actual music except for towards the credits.
Very little.
There's a bit, there's a fair bit, but
Is there? There's a lot more than you think. I need to watch
Yeah,
it
there
again.
is. The episode 1 in the van.
Yeah.
When they get put into the van, there's music
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
It's to fill those moments, but it's very subtle. Yeah, very quiet.
And we did, because the choir singing over the drone shot, I recorded that with the musical director of the series.
Okay.
And he had them doing sort of lots of really interesting things as warm-ups for their voices. Yeah. He goes, okay, I want you all to whisper. Doesn't matter what you're saying, but I want you to do it in a suspicious tone. And so everyone going like, and we record a bit of that, and then, okay, now I want you to say an angry tone. And we record a bit of that. And he was going, I'll use all of these. And it goes under things, and you just don't really notice it's there, but it just sort of has that almost subconscious effect on your emotions. That you're thinking, oh, what's going on? Yeah, him and Post sort of worked hand in hand. Because the 2 Post guys were just amazing. The effects and the detail they were prepared to, the lengths they were prepared to go to get it right. One thing, and you can see when Bascom comes out into the playground during the fire drill, he brushes against a bush. Yeah. And I was there, and you're going, okay, I'm going to need to get a bush sound. I'm going to need to go. I've got one in my garden I can do that with. And you're going, really? I mean, but that's the thing. It's sort of, none of these things are things. Oh, it would have ruined it without it. But they all just add that tiny bit extra, and that you don't notice, but it just gives you that feeling of reality.
What would be really interesting to know how, Carl, you got on in the school, because I mean, long corridors, narrow door frames, I noticed a lot of dialogue in the school happened just as they was going through doors. And those transitions are always quite difficult, aren't they? Especially when you're maybe a corridor, you want a long pole. For that sort of movement, you want a short pole, and you're constantly wanting different sizes. So
the doorways are so low because it's a kid's school, so they're not designed to be for adult size almost. And you've got the DP, what a huge grip walking backwards through that doorway, and you've got to be ahead of them, obviously. So there was a lot of handoffs at the doorways to try and, you'll have another boom poking through the doorway to help that handoff. At the beginning of the school, it was me and Kiff bringing that walk down towards the canteen, and I'd dive out and Tom would dive in and take them into the canteen. But there was a lot of also then I would run off to, so I had an exterior mic, I had the mini C-Mitt with me, I think, for that, didn't I? Yeah. And I would run off to the head master's office, change mics to an interior, and wait for them to come into there. Right. And then I would swap out again for another exterior mic to do the basketball court for the fire alarm. It was good. It's a lot of fun because everyone had their role. Everyone had, I got to be here. After I've done this scene, I need to get over to that next set. I guess it's a set as soon as possible. Not being shot. Don't make any noise. No running. Get to that next set, and you're waiting. And you're just waiting. Am I in the right spot? Where's everyone? You start to tell because you don't know, because the scene might take a little bit longer than usual. Because there are ad libs, there are things that change. So and they might be far away. Maybe I can't hear what's happening. So it was good fun. And like I said, you always had one boom op in the room waiting to receive, and you always had a boom op to take them to deliver or to come in and join in as well. It's concentration, and that's what's the important thing for this, because it's an hour-long take. You have to, even though it's one take in the morning and one take in the afternoon, when you're doing it, it's the concentration. You have to be on it 110% focus. There's no jokes, there's no making funny faces at each other, there's none of that. It's like, get it done in the right spot at the right time, and be ready for a freestyle. If things change, be ready to get in there or boom underneath or something like that. It has to be, you have to be so on the ball for this, because there were moments where there'd be a boom dip here and there because the camera had tilted up and you couldn't see the camera as they entered the room. They're a little bit wider, you can't tell. So what I was going to mention as well that was really useful for me personally, and it was for the other boom ops, we got the rushes every day. So they would send the rushes, take 1, take 2, morning take and afternoon take. We'd take that home and we'll watch them. And you didn't have camera come up to you and say, look, there's this moment here, I think we caught you. But then you know how wide that camera is. And I said, look, as long as you're going to do the same thing, I know to give it a little bit more. So that was very useful because as the week went on, we fine-tuned everything and things got better. We were on the edge, you know, and for something that is very risky, anything could happen. But if we trust the camera and we watch those rushes.
I guess that leads to the question, did they ever have to paint anything out?
I think they did, and they must have, because I was booming.
No, not just that, but also if you're going to do an hour-long take, especially through somewhere like a school, you've got glass windows and stuff, there's bound to be a reflection of the camera or, you know, a boom or something like that. It's just bound to be. They always knew it was going to happen. There was, right from word go, there was budget to paint things out if necessary, because, you know, it's, for example, the side of a car. You know, you're going to see in the door handle. Okay, I mean, most people would never notice it, but you're going to see like the camera moving, the reflection of the camera moving through. They always knew it was going to happen.
Did you guys set the plan for who goes where, or was it a bit like you guys figured this out from like?
When we did episode 1, we realised how big it was, and we weren't involved in the director's rehearsal, so we came in like, whoa, fish out of water, this is quite difficult, and we were kind of rushed to trying to figure out the choreography. So we thought after that, we'll make sure at least one boom op can run point on the director's rehearsal so they can get a week in advance an idea of what to do. So this is Ash Sinani's episode really. So all the choreography, all the planning, who goes where was his plan, which was, this worked. I think he had a diagram where we go and everything in the years.
I need to come and mark up my script with this will be boom 1, this will be boom 2, and so I knew when those changeovers were, rather than just, you know, being the rads to mix as well. I knew where the booms were going to be.
And at the very end, you would say, "Who wants to go for the glory? Who wants the end bit of the glory, the end of the episode?" So Carl, you can do it.
Usually, what ends up getting in the way with boom ops is you got the grip and you've got the focus puller who are always really close to the camera. Did you have, I caught this on the behind the scenes footage. Do you mind telling me what these guys are doing?
Sean Beasley is the focus puller in the middle, and Adam Farquhar was doing the stops for the iris of the camera. They were never in the way. They were miles away. I don't know how they were getting range, but they were miles away. They never got in the way. The grips were the only ones that were close to camera, but they were lovely. So they were page doors for you as well. They would make sure the camera's gone through the door. They would hold the door for you. It was, everyone worked together. Less footsteps as well. You don't have people walking back. You don't have Sean Beasley and Adam running backwards, and you didn't hear them.
I think it's worth flagging the incredible work of your maintenance engineers who did the radio miking, because they must have got you out of a lot of trouble for moments that you couldn't grab. Can you give me an idea of like the amount of boom versus radio, and was there a combination? Like, how much did the radios end up playing in the school interiors?
A lot. If the booms had been not there, it would have sounded, it wouldn't have sounded half as real. But I mean, absolutely, a lot of that definition was going to come from the radios. And both our seconds, both Chi and Jana, did an incredible job. Just as like one example of that, if you look at Bascom's shirt for the school, when I saw that come out of costume, I thought, we are utterly boned. You know, we're never going to get anything off that radio, and we need it. Clean as a bell. I mean, I still to this day don't know quite how she did it, but that was a superb piece of sort of radio mic hiding.
So this is the rig they used on Ashley's shirt. So this will go between the buttons, and it's a DPA 6061 in a bubble bee mount with a URSA plush circle over the top for wind protection. and it's stuck down with a sticky which has a hole in the center like that. So they use, that's wig lace tape there, very, very sticky tape. You can use Walker tape or super tape, it's really, really sticky. And this sticky with a hole in, you can get these from URSA, they're sticky zeros. So that's the rig they used on Ashley. But incidentally, they also used a very similar rig, just that on its own, stuck to skin. So that was kind of stuck to people's skin. Jamie's skin on Ep1, that was the rig under his t-shirt. She said she used URSA tape to stick down cables on the backs of people's shirts, and generally to stick the cables down, URSA tape was used for that. Okay, back to the video. I did have a quick chat with she about wiring, and she told me an interesting story, and maybe you can elaborate on it. Was when one of the characters gets in a fight in the schoolyard after the fire alarm, sometimes his mic would come loose in his tie, and then you would be going up to the medic's office to see him momentarily after that fight, and she apparently had to run in, fix his mic during the time it took you to get the camera there, and then get out of the room just in time. And she was saying there might have been a take when she was actually hiding under some furniture.
Yeah, a couple of times
there
she
was
never got
no
out of the room.
chance.
She just couldn't leave.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, one time she got stuck in Jamie's bedroom when
The very end scene of Ep4, right?
when Stephen Graham's kind of about to pour his heart out, and she's stuck there going, literally just that. If I just make myself very small, perhaps you'll.
There was an interesting still, this was what she sent me as an example of how she would organise her radio mics in the morning, and I think different colours meant if they were on an MTP 41 or an MTP 61.
Yeah, that was only half of it.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's 19. So how many packs altogether were you handling?
24 on my desk, I think, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because of the bag rig as well. I can't remember, it was about that anyway.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Can I just go back to a picture of your kit? There you go.
Go to the one without me in it.
So I was interested because you've got this playback,
So look,
right?
that was the alarm that goes off, the fire alarm that goes off, which sends them all out to the fire muster point, yeah. So another thing with having post there was they provided us with tones that they could deal with. So they gave us the alarm, like in Ep3 as well, when that alarm goes off. So they basically provided, and you go, Phil, do you like this one? Yes, great.
I triggered that on a particular line, and then as soon as they're out of the classroom, we ended it. Because we didn't want to have to, but then post had that sound, and then they could continue it on.
Acoustics of that sound.
Yeah.
Was it speaker and played out?
It's a speaker just stuck in the door.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so post could take that on as long as they wanted,
Yeah.
because they had the sound, they designed it.
That's so much better to do it for real, and then everyone's elevated.
Yeah,
by
but it's
that
also
sound.
nice having the comfort knowing post gave it you.
Yeah.
They are dealing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, it worked. And it's Phil just wanting that live feel to it.
How did you move the iPad? Did you have a thing to move the script downwards, like a
got
foot
that.
pedal or something? I don't know. I've never
have
seen
got
them
one.
work. Yeah.
And it is good,
Yeah.
but I just tended to,
Okay. Yeah.
I think sometimes if you get caught out with that pedal,
Uh-huh.
you're going to be using your finger.
Mm-hmm.
So I just,
The chaos of that scene, that it's like, is it a terror attack, sir? No, it's not. You bloody, and then this and that. It's just everywhere it's happening, and Rob's going.
By Friday it was perfect.
Yeah, but it was, brilliantly done. Brilliantly done. That was, I have to say, seeing that, I just thought, that's. That's what this was. It's sort of a combination of really good mixing skills, and ingenuity.
So Ep3 had a whole different vibe to it, didn't it? Because it was much more controlled, but it was much more of a character study about Jamie. In this picture from Ep3, how was that for you, Carl, with this set?
So this was the first set we shot. This, the corridor, CCTV room,
The lift
and
kind
the
of
lift
shenanigans.
and the reception area. So it was all contained. It sounds a lot, but it was still contained. It was all one set. When I mentioned about concentration, this was probably the most difficult because we're going 360 in that room, and the first half of that interview is, I think, 26 minutes until he stands up and slams the hot chocolate against the wall. Yeah. The headroom was always changing towards the end you knew what was going to happen because Matt, he learnt the words. You can see Tom, he's like bang on it. He's right, super close. You want to match that. You want to try and get as close as you can. But because the headroom was such a big difference, you had to have some restraint. But yeah, there would be the hot chocolate part was quite funny. When we first did the hot chocolate scene, and he slams the hot chocolate, they have people in coming cleaning it. You see it in the CCTV, but it's still hot chocolate, and we're walking through it. Oh no! So eventually you hear that
So sticky.
all over the dialogue, and we're like, I think that was take. It was in the tech rehearsals. We figured that out. Yeah, it's tech rehearsals. But we're thinking we got to change this.
The floor as well. We should mention that as well.
Oh yeah, the floor. This floor as well was super creaky, but they'd laid it, I think, quite late on, wasn't it? So when we started doing the tech rehearsal on it, it was gradually getting worse because it was starting to settle.
This is where the art department were so good.
Yeah, they helped us out. It was literally on the
weekend,
Friday.
Yeah, the weekend they came in.
Yeah.
To replace that
tore the
entire
whole
floor.
out.
Yeah.
And
Relayed it.
And redid it.
And it was perfect.
We said, look, this really is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's getting a worse problem. It's not getting a better one. You know, we can't get around it. And the art department said, okay, come on Monday, it's a new floor. They've just dug the whole thing up. And this was, you know, a proper laid floor. They pulled the whole thing up and set a new one down.
They'd raised it slightly, and that's all vinyl. It's actually a Parker.
Oh, okay. So
It's
it
all
was
vinyl.
beneath the vinyl, it was creaking.
Yeah. So they just raised it slightly and fixed that issue. And then going through the hot chocolate, we trialed different hot chocolates. I know it sounds really boring, but we trialed like 4 or 5 different hot chocolates, sweetener, no sugar, and poor Owen. We settled on
what
heel.
he ended up with
He was on heel. He was going, nice, yeah, great.
Went to the gym every night.
Yeah. And I think he's had an interview saying, that was rank. So I don't know why we did that.
But also then,
Sorry.
then we couldn't actually have it coming out of the hot chocolate machine.
Yeah.
Because obviously it doesn't give heel. You know, so basically the cup was loaded in there. So again, that was one of the postings. Okay, get us the noise of that machine making the thing, because we just won't have it in the thing.
Yeah.
We didn't do the cup coming out, so the camera slightly changed their shot.
Don't show it. Yeah.
Don't show it. You know, we got the sound for that fine. We got, you know, a new floor.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just everyone was just okay. This is a problem. It's not just your department's. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a problem for us, and so it got changed, which was, you know, and then you can do that.
We also had a few plant mics. You can try and guess where they are.
We had 2.
We had 2. We had one. It's on the table.
Oh, really? What, that?
Yeah.
What's that then?
So it was a
DPA.
The neck. What are they called?
It was one of those holes in the table that you have to take electrical cables through.
Yeah.
And so there was one.
Well, they weren't there, so we asked to have them put in again. Art department liaison here, and they were like, "Yeah, cool." So just one in each corner, because the plan was that if it went quite wide, we'd have nothing but the rads. Sorry if I bang my mic. So they were kind of those little gooseneck DPAs.
That's right. Yeah.
Stuck under the table that was hollowed out, and kind of just the very tip of it poking out there. I don't think they were ever used though.
No.
But they were there.
Belt and braces, just in case.
Exactly.
Right.
Always the belts and the braces.
And there was such lovely sound design in this space, and it really made me wonder, how was that real? Oh, genuinely, I was thinking the rain, it comes and goes and swells. It's almost like a musical background to the whole, and they even respond to it. I think there's a moment where it comes down really heavily, and you really hear the sound like corrugated roof. It makes it feel like a really claustrophobic space, like a really unpleasant space to be in. Can you? How did that work?
So outside, it's a big dark hangar. So what they did, they projected like different backgrounds onto screens away from that, and you're getting the reflection of that through those windows. So if you had, because they had like moving scenes of weather and stuff like that, you're actually getting all that almost subliminal effect.
But we had to obviously be directly behind camera, because they would turn the lights off if the camera was going to cross those lights there. So we had to make sure we were directly behind that camera to not cast any shadows.
And this top light here, did you have any shadow issues in this space?
It was very soft. I mean, if you that's why we split the scene as well, because I mean, you could argue we could have done it on one, but you'd be swinging it. But there are some parts where it is on one when they get quite close. But yeah, if you swung through that, you'll catch a bit on the table.
And I guess all of this was okay because that was all.
Yeah, that was discussion as well, because they were going to remove that and put normal glass.
All right.
And then we're like, oh. And then the director came and said, no, we're not doing that.
Nice.
We'll keep it frosted.
Yeah. People were asking what mics were you using. MKH50s. They are such workhorses and really punchy, right?
Yeah. To me, they're perfect for that scene.
Yeah.
Anything inside was on them.
Yeah. This is an hour of booming.
Yeah.
Was this one the most physically demanding from a boom point of view?
Physically, no, I don't think so, because they were sat down, so you weren't arms all the way up. I mean, if that would have been a different story. They were sat down and they were a good height, so you could tuck in and you could just focus on that camera, focus on your mic placement, and just go around and just to focus. That is, I think, the hardest thing. It was just the concentration, because you've done this first half of the interview, and then you're running up and running in through doorways. So it's that concentration. It's going through the doorways straight after something. I'm not saying it's boring, but when me and Tom were doing this, we were so focused on what we were doing. We weren't watching the acting, but we were like, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to put the boom in. And it was such a challenge. It was the first day on the shoot, and we're like, great, we're doing this right now. It's a long take. It's so much fun, and your brain is firing like this. We're going to do this, we do that. Tom, you stay there, I'll go here. I'll duck underneath. There was a lot of door frame hits with the boom.
Oh, there's a couple of crackers, wasn't there, during that?
There was a lot of door frame hits, because you had to dive into the doorway. You had to be fearless. You couldn't just go in carefully, because you've missed a line of dialogue. Yeah. You had to go bang, straight in there. Doorway booming. I know it sounds boring as well, but to walk backwards through a doorway and into the doorway, it's difficult. It is a difficult thing.
Moving through a doorway, I was keeping someone on mic. Did you ever have to adjust the length of your pole during a take?
Yeah, I did. It was actually on this one as well. So when Owen jumps up, the psychiatrist walks out, Tom is taking her out, and I've had to hide in the corner, and I'll pull the boom pole down, and I'll run in and hide in the CCTV room, because I need a certain length for the CCTV room. I did the CCTV room, pick them up. And then when I've done the CCTV room, Tom is taking them down the corridor back into this room. And that's when Rob gives me a cue, all right, cameras off that corridor, jump out that CCTV room. And I jump out, extend the boom pole for the second half of this.
Yeah. Just during the break, we were talking a little bit about this scene, when capturing this moment. And then you're saying that you're having trouble getting, do you mind explaining this moment? This would be the tech rehearsal, I think.
And if you can see up here, there's an overlaid part of the fence which goes directly over the doorway, the top of the doorway, into the basketball court. And I saw that, and I'm like, I'll give it a go. And then we all those kids, operator, grip, actors, all got to try and go through that doorway at the same time almost. And I was like, the boom was doing that. I'm like, I've missed all the dialogue. This is not going to work. And I spoke to the art department about it, and I expect them to say, we can't help you with that at all. They're like, do you think you can roll it back? Yeah, we'll roll it back for you. So clear path, get the boom in, get the dialogue straight out, go back in again. It was, they helped us out again. I don't think there was once they said, do you want to use the radios instead? No. Boom shadow radios?
They were just straight on it. Yeah.
And so episode 4 is I don't really feel like, obviously we've been spoiling the whole show, so we might as well talk about episode 4 as well. So we start in the house, and it's a relatively stable morning, everything seems fine, and then it all gets picked up when the graffiti on the van, and sort of the elevation begins, and he then decides, right, we're going to, what was the name of the? Wainrights. So I've got a picture of the vehicle. Is this when they first drive off?
That's when they first drive off. So you've already seen, there are 2 identical vans. One's with all this and the grip gear on the front, and the other one is just the Miller Plumbing van. And that's the just Miller Plumbing is the one that's in the drive, because you see the whole van when he comes out and realises it's been had graffiti written on it. So that's there, and then he goes in the house and goes, right, we're going to Wainrights, and they've got about a minute and a half. He goes into the kitchen, which is lucky because obviously we've got to drive, well, not we, but Grips have got to drive the other van away and then quickly back this one into that place. And then when they come out the house to go to Wainrights, you never see above the roof of the van, and you never see the front part.
You never see the front,
And the camera comes around, gets mounted on this track here, and then off they go to Wainrights.
It really feels like he's driving it for real. I mean, it's one of those magic tricks, isn't it?
I have to say, with these things, it's always quite noisy, the van.
Really?
So,
Carpet tiles.
Carpet tiles.
They had
all over.
offcuts from the previous stage, the police stage, and they were just chucking all these carpet tiles. I'm like, let's soundproof the van. All the carpet tape we had, 30 rolls, well, not 30 rolls, but 5 rolls of carpet tape. Bam, 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 bam. Looked great. Got back the next day, it all fallen down. You're fighting to stick them back on just for the take, and they'll fall down in the middle of the take. Yeah, I wanted to pull them all off. You wouldn't let me.
No.
And how did you cover the car sequences? Was it a similar thing you did previously with the follow vehicle?
In the van, we had there was 3 place mics for the 3 cars sitting across the front. They're all running to the back to a mixer. The Hannah Bracegirdle was sitting in the back, monitoring the 3 place mics, and then their radio mics. We were driving in front of them because obviously this is looking back. So this is Video Village essentially is here. Yeah. So I've got aerials pointed straight at them. So I'm getting their signal, no problem. But the 3 place mics are being recorded. Well, all their mics are being recorded in the back as well because you just never know. Yeah. Hannah's doing the playback as well here for the Aha, the song. Yeah. So she's the one, because obviously they're on the phone and Hannah's in the back going, and now? So she's doing the playback, and then on the way back, we have a live phone call with Jamie, who's in the detention centre. But Jamie is, in fact...
He's at the house.
In the house with Rob.
Right. So we set up that link. So that, the phone call you hear was live.
Was it a real cellular phone call?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
It was.
Yeah. It was a sort of speakerphone, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He was
it went through the van. It was, through the van speakers.
It was high risk because there were times where maybe Stephen didn't press accept.
And reception was...
And the reception kept dropping out.
Yeah, you're relying on cellulose.
Yeah, very scary.
So as Ash was up, Ash had a laptop because there was a bit of playback at the top.
Oh yeah.
With that call acceptance from the prison. So he'd do that through the phone, unplug, hand the phone to Owen, who would then do his chat with Stephen. You
were playing those pre-recorded.
So pre-recorded.
Police, are you happy to accept this?
Exactly. Just through a little, iRig thing into the phone. And then so he'd play that out on the call, and then hand it to Owen. Worked really well.
I imagine this always had to be real, because obviously you had to have the real. You couldn't have pre-recorded and played in for this at all. This was
because they had to act off each other. They have to respond to each other. So initially we were going to have Jamie in Video Village with the director, so the director could. That was our initial plan, and then we decided, because they also wanted like Graham's to go on first. This recorded message from the prison. We just thought it's getting a bit too.
How are we going to do that?
From here.
We're all sitting there in the house doing nothing essentially. But in the house, we've got spare people and time. It made sense to have it there.
Also, Wainrights. Initially, we were planning to, the Video Village van parks. We aligned the aerial, so we got sort of coverage, all of that stuff in Wainrights. And then the shots changed. And the Video Village van had to not only park in a different place, but while they were inside, had to move to another place. And then also they went far, far deeper into the store than they'd originally planned, and ended up down an aisle with paint on both sides. So essentially, they made them completely inaccessible to radio signals, which was, you think, oh. So in that episode, I had my cart in the van, but I also had a mixer strapped to me. So once we got to Wainrights, I pulled down everything from the mixer except for the feed from the other mixer I was now wearing. I jumped out and followed it in down, halfway down the store. So I'm still getting signal back to the van so the director can hear everything that's going on. And then Tom follows them, but the way the shot changes, he has to pull out, and then they go down this little aisle between the paint pans, and that sort of kind of really important bit of dialogue.
That aisle, you couldn't be quick enough to run around behind camera and then lead into that aisle and settle without throwing a shadow. So we said to Kiff, we need someone in there waiting in that aisle, stationary with the boom, to get that bit of dialogue.
So Tom's on them here, I'm hiding behind a thing up here, and then they go down here and they get to a point where Tom has to pull out. So Joanna has been waiting there and has dropped down to get this kind of vital bit.
You see Stephen's in that flory light and he's a little bit darker, so it had to be on either side of that light.
And then as soon as Stephen exits, Joanna pulls up, and then Tom's onto him. We had Hannah in the back of the van, doing the play-ins and stuff. We had Joanna hiding down at the back of this store. We had Chi hiding in a bedroom upstairs, waiting to sort of
to the radio.
Right. We had Tom here doing this booming, and then Kyle and Ash at the house. So it was, there were no sort of slack people just sitting around drinking tea, well, except for Rob, obviously.
I think Ep4, everyone had a very big role to play Ep4, because at the very beginning of Ep4, Chi did the opening of the garden, and she did the exterior when they get into the van. Ash covered, at the beginning of the episode, all of the upstairs. I did all of the downstairs, and then at the end we went up together. Joanna here as well. A very important part of the scene that it needs to be nailed. The fight and the paint thrown on the van, also very, very important. And
it was outdoors and the sun and everything, right?
And that was all Tom. Each different time we did it, it was like, are we going to be? Oh no, you're going under, Tom.
Very stressful.
There was a moment here where it's like the sun is really challenging, I think, because
he was double mic, wasn't he? His jacket was mic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because he plops out.
Because he's got a mic on that shirt for the whole time, but as soon as he puts the jacket on, he puts that seatbelt over, and that seatbelt covered his first mic. Right. So the second mic in the jacket that Chi had rigged was for the van, wasn't it? Yeah. Right. It's very clever. It was in the rib under his jacket.
And so that's our Video Village van parked there.
Right. I can see why. Yeah, because it's all this iron, it's all this metal work. You're never gonna. So when you went back in the van and your main rig then took over again, was that like turn off the transmitter on the other one again and all that sort of stuff?
It was just like, hang on, pull that down up, and then, but there's no time to take that stuff off. You see, just...
Chi was in the house for their arrival because Stephen changes his costume, changes his shirt. So as soon as he comes in, she has, a minute to do it? Because we're still with the family getting out the car, the van. So as soon as Stephen goes in, he's taking his top off. She's taking the mic off. He's putting his blue shirt on, and then she's got to hide before the camera comes up the staircase.
There's not a lot of time.
There's not much time.
No, that's really. And then her daughter changes as well, right?
Yes.
Change.
So
exactly. And then I think that's why she goes and hides in the daughter's room.
Yeah.
So then she can also rejig the daughter's mic as well.
And then I've gone up with the camera, and Ash is behind me, and he comes in, and we split that last scene with Mum and Dad on the bed. We split that because Stephen goes background and Mum is foreground. So, and then I gave Ash the glory to finish the episode, because that was my episode 4.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal work, really it is.
I tell you, something that's really worth saying about this. All the departments were brilliant, but something else, I'm not sure we could have done it if the grown-ups, so I mean production, hadn't sort of given us A, the trust, and B, the space to do it. I mean, just to give you an idea, Leo, the head of production at Warp, watched, you know that chat we did about Boiling Point?
Yeah.
She watched it, not because she was checking me out, but she wanted to try and understand as much as she could about it. And that's not an easy watch, really. I mean, for us techies, really exciting. But for your average human being, that's quite a struggle. But she went through that because she wanted to understand. They never sort of second-guessed us about stuff. They never said, oh, you know, why don't you do it like this? Because they knew we had done it before, and what we were suggesting was possibly the only way to do it. So they understood that and went with it. So we had the room, the trust from the people above us to actually get it done. And then we, as all the departments together, just pushed all in the same direction to get it done. So it was a fabulous thing, but that went all the way up to the very top. You know, Leo, Joe, the producer, was never anything but supportive, was she?
I think it's like the planning, isn't it? You plan with the information you've got.
Yeah.
So you get the script, you break it down, you do all that, and then the moment you see the camera doing its moves, you know, that planning that's a good foundation for sure. You've got to do that. That's when you really figure it out.
Yeah,
I think.
No, I agree.
As you say, it's a foundation that you can build on. But the way you initially plan to do it is not necessarily the way. You can't fall in love with a particular plan.
You
because
can't not do the foundation.
But then it just changes because everything will change.
Do you think your background with working together, doing Top Gear and then the Grand Tour and all the shows which were very unscripted and live, and obviously you just had to roll with the punches and think laterally about solutions. Did that lead you into being ready for this kind of job? Because I know a lot of sound mixers don't really like leaving the comfort zone that they're used to, and this is obviously a lot of scary, of challenges that might be quite a lot to take on board.
Definitely elements of it. Having done all that stuff, it was definitely skill sets there that helped us in this for sure. I mean, any car rigging, but it's not just about the rig of the car, is it? It's how you get that to here and get that there. And yeah, I think I think with that background was definitely useful for this one, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, there are skill sets that you can take from there that apply very well to this. But then I think that's the same of all different branches of our fields. They all have things that they could show the other side. Factual has some real lessons that could be adopted in drama, and vice versa. Absolutely. It's just. But if you've got a kind of a broad understanding of all of them, then it does sort of up your arsenal a little bit. Because you go, this is very, this is not traditionally what we do, but you can do it this way. So that helps.
It's such a fantastic project, and I'm really thank you so much for taking your time out to come and
Thanks
about it, to get an opportunity to spend a bit of time really delving into the details. And I don't think sound gets enough appreciation for when it comes down to the thought that goes into it, and the importance of getting all of those moments, and capturing all of the extra sounds as well. It's just made for a wonderful final piece. So yeah, congratulations. I wish you all the best in the awards season. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of URSA Exclusives. Please stay tuned for future episodes. Not exactly one take wonder, but we got there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Pleasure, guys.
Oh, and I want to say a really big thank you to the audio department who let us use their facility to film this video. So if you're ever looking to get any kit, hire any kit for your jobs, check out the audio department in Isleworth. They are fantastic, and also they have rather a lot of URSA kit as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what,